Of the pretty boys.
Look at me, everybody, how pretty I am.
I like the tough guy tight ends.
I'd hate to have to fight that son of a gun.
He played football tough. You had to watch him for 60 minutes because he'd take your head off.
That is the receiver. Time.
Hey, weeks ago, we stood in this same spot.
Getting 7 points here.
All 6 of you worked your tail off.
5 seconds left.
That was 3, Brett, number 3.
More to go.
792, pushing 2 weeks.
Top 10 tight ends. All right. We're getting specific now.
I like tight ends that are complete.
We're giving you the complete list of the top 10 tight ends.
It's a whole new breed of tight ends now. They're big, they're fast, they got good hands.
He doesn't block. He doesn't want to block.
Gates lining up as a wide receiver. If you can catch the ball, you can't block. That's okay.
They can kiss my butt. Tight ends should be asked to block more and block better.
How many basketball players are on this list?
They're not all hoops players, but our countdown shows it's a slam dunk that most have one thing in common.
Toughness. Plain old toughness.
Let the debate begin as we bring you our top 10 tight ends.
Couldn't block a lick.
If Shannon wasn't our teammate, I would hate him.
Is Mickey Schuler on the list?
Number 10 tight end of all time, Antonio Gates.
Pretty good number 10.
Antonio Gates is money.
Antonio Gates has been money in the bank since he entered the NFL in 2003.
He's a freak of nature. He's a great athlete.
Pushes off and makes the catch.
He's absolutely huge.
Are you kidding me? Is there anybody on this planet that could cover Antonio Gates?
Tremendous talent and athletic ability.
Touchdown! San Diego!
Amazing. An amazing athlete.
What a play by 85!
My goodness, how do you get that wide open?
You cannot cover Gates with a linebacker.
When you find one like that, they really do a lot for a football team.
You can replace LaDainian Tomlinson. You cannot replace a guy who requires 2 people to cover him at all times, and that is Antonio Gates.
That's what happens when you get so focused on LaDainian Tomlinson and you take your attention away from a guy like Antonio Gates.
What you see with the way teams try to defend Antonio Gates tells you everything you need to know about how they respect him.
Good catch, baby. Good catch.
Coming out of college, football wasn't the sport Gates was known for.
Not bad for a guy that wasn't drafted, huh?
How many basketball players are on this list?
Basketball player at Kent State?
Oh, the big hoopster from Kent State, climbing hard for the rebound.
The thing I took from the basketball court was just my hand-eye coordination. And like catching the ball was just always natural.
Because of his basketball background, is he has that explosive first step.
He has totally changed the way the NFL has looked for tight ends.
And that is a Charger touchdown.
Gates will throw, but just a great job.
Get one-on-one.
Now every team wants the big guy who can grab anything thrown his way. But is it too early for Gates to grab a spot on this top 10 list?
Wow, that's close. I'd have to go down and crunch some numbers.
Antonio Gates statistically finishes the first or second best tight end in the league every year.
And again, the tight end.
Why not? Absolutely.
It's a big second quarter for Gates.
Antonio Gates definitely deserves to be in the top 10.
I think Antonio Gates should certainly be in the top 10.
Antonio Gates is in there yet again.
He's still got a lot of football to play.
Gates is open. Touchdown!
He's going to be there.
That was Antonio Gates.
Why not?
I don't know about his blocking ability.
Well, this guy, he can block some.
He doesn't block. He doesn't want to block. He doesn't finish plays. He's out for himself at times. But boy, what a great athlete he is. He makes plays.
I think you got to play a little longer and do it for a few more years before you start talking about your place in the history of this game.
As good as he's been to this point, I still think there's more to come.
And Gates has got it, breaks a tackle. Touchdown!
Antonio Gates at some point could be the greatest tight end ever.
He's probably too low. I got to see the rest of the guys, but he's probably too low. I think he's a heck of a tight end.
Coming up, who's the apple of the Big Tuna's eye?
I tell you, he's a stone face, that Bavaro now. You know what the hell he's thinking. I'd hate to have to fight that son.
You got Johnny Mitchell that can't do.
New York likes to take tight ends in the first round.
My hands is like stones. I can't feel nothing. Really?
It hasn't always worked out well.
Johnny, come here. That was a shitty pattern.
Derek Brown was drafted along with Johnny Mitchell in the first round, and neither had great success.
Jets select tight end from Penn State, Kyle Brady. Jeremy Shockey.
Jeremy Shockey certainly isn't a bust, but people do like to bust on him.
If I ever saw anybody, I would hope fumble the ball. It's that big guy. Shockey fumbles, Redskins ball. Why don't he jump up now and run it with his long hair to the sideline and say, look at me, everybody, how pretty I am.
It wasn't pretty when an injured Shockey watched his backup help the Giants win the Super Bowl.
Big play by Manning to Boss.
Kevin Boss helped New York win the Lombardi Trophy, but our number 9 tight end aided them in winning their first 2.
The number 9 tight end of all time, New York's finest, Mark Bavaro.
Mark Bavaro, one of the most complete tight ends to ever play. Do you agree?
Totally.
Mark Bavaro is 1 part great tight end, 4 parts Big Apple hype.
It wasn't just hype. Our number 9 tight end led his team to 2 Super Bowl victories.
Sims throws deep in it. Complete Bavaro, touchdown. Sims is looking for a target. Sims, end zone, touchdown Bavaro.
I think Mark Bavaro, in terms of his toughness, his quiet leadership, yeah, he'd certainly be on my top 10 list.
I'd say more of a complete tight end as far as blocking and pass receiving.
Nobody dominated the position like he did.
What a play!
I thought Mark was one of the better tight ends because he did everything. The tough, physical, beat you up, you tackle him, you're going to get hurt.
That's a good catch, Mark. Big play, son. That's the way to go. Hey, those guys going to beat you around. You got to learn to beat their hands off you. You know what I mean?
Bavaro was closed-mouthed compared to his coach.
Basically, I didn't have really anything to say.
But his looks said everything.
I tell you, he's a stone face, that Bavaro now. You know what the hell he's thinking. I'd hate to have to fight that son of a gun.
He was a perfect example of what a Parcells Giant was.
This is hardball tonight. I'm proud of my guys. They're fighters.
And that was a power team and a running team, a team that was smash mouth.
Bavaro was a perfect fit.
One of the most menacing blockers in the National Football League.
Devastating blocker. He's the best blocking tight end I ever saw.
His blocking helped the Giants' notoriously physical run game.
Go watch tape of Mark Bavaro rolling strong side linebackers, defensive ends up.
He had a defensive mentality on the offensive side of the ball.
On a team with Lawrence Taylor, you didn't want to be known as a...
I'm trying to think of another word for...
The heart that he had when he carried the entire San Francisco 49er team on his back, that was quintessential Mark Bavaro, and it's the snapshot that encapsulates his whole career.
The Ronnie Lott of offense, of tight end.
He was the embodiment of the tough guy, the guy who played through pain. It made for great copy, but it didn't make him a great tight end.
Eagles fans knew he was. They may have hated the player, but they loved his talent.
People didn't like him, and he didn't like the Eagles.
I hated the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, that's not even a question. They were evil incarnate, especially Buddy Ryan. I dreamed of murdering him.
Bavaro was stone cold despised when he was a member of the New York Giants, and then when he came to the Eagles, the Eagle fans learned to like him a lot. He was a dominant player. He deserves, in my mind, to be in the top 3 of all-time tight ends.
The number 8 tight end of all time. Go Gonzo for Tony Gonzalez.
I would call Tony Gonzalez a pass-catching tight end.
Nobody catches the ball better than him.
Chiefs tight end Tony Gonzalez is number 8 on our countdown, and he holds the tight end records for career receptions, touchdowns, and catches in a single season for a tight end.
the best tight end in the NFL. Len Dawson.
I don't believe that catch. I do not believe the catch.
It's gravy for Tony Gonzalez.
What a catch. Gonzalez showing his athletic ability.
Tony Gonzalez with his first National Football League touchdown.
That's a beautiful catch, baby. Good job.
Athletically terrific. Phenomenal athlete.
I turn around and I see defenders coming. I'm going to do whatever it takes.
Pass over the middle, caught by Gonzalez at the 5, inside the 5, back into the end zone, touchdown.
Tony Gonzalez to me is the ultimate tight end.
5-step drop, looking left, rifles a shot, is caught by Gonzalez. Gonzalez makes a tackle.
You know, Tony Gonzalez is the pretty boy of the group.
Tony started out as a very poor blocker.
He knows everything. You can't block him.
He couldn't block his way out of a tissue box. He didn't want to.
People have told me, coaches have told me about Tony Gonzalez is how much he has improved as a blocker over the years.
Nobody works harder than him.
And he worked his butt off to become a great blocker.
He'll be a slot man. He'll be a tight end. He'll come out of the backfield.
Those guys that can kind of jack of all trades, they can do it all.
Tony Gonzalez double pass for Michael Ricks up the right side. Caught by Ricks down to the 5. Blocked! It's blocked at the 15-yard line. It is blocked and picked up by Tony Gonzalez. Made the block.
And are used like Gonzalez is as a wide receiver.
Throwing left side. Gonzalez wide open up the left sideline.
Those are pretty remarkable guys. Those guys are hard to find. They're hard to come by.
The guy makes plays, and he does what he's asked to do.
The future Hall of Fame tight end.
Throw that ball up, my guy's going to get it.
Reaches up, touchdown, Kansas City.
Uses his body probably as well as any tight end I've ever seen.
And he outleaped like 3 guys.
Catch him.
Touchdown.
Catch him.
Touchdown.
Catch him.
Gonzalez wide open.
Catch him.
Touchdown, Kansas.
And catch him some more.
Great call, buddy. Just great call. Yeah. You're the best, and you will always be the best.
Tony Gonzalez should be higher. 820 catches only gets you 8th place on this list.
The most 100-yard receiving games in Kansas City Chiefs history.
Probably too low. I think Tony Gonzalez personally is as good as anybody that's ever played it.
He's good, maybe because he played in Kansas City.
We're not on one of the coasts. We're not on the, in California. We're not in New York, so we don't get a lot of the attention.
If he was on a Super Bowl team, he'd probably be an MVP in a Super Bowl game.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. Tony Gonzalez has now tied for the all-time NFL touchdown receiving mark for a tight end.
If he had been on some better teams, then he would be thought of probably even higher.
He's borderline.
He's in top 5 all time at that position.
Is he about right where we're placing him right now?
Yeah.
Coming up, who helped give the Raiders more than a ghost of a chance in big games?
The most zany, unbelievable, absolutely impossible dream of a play.
No team has featured more great tight ends than the Raiders.
The Raiders had a line of good tight ends. They can make your offense roll.
Guys like Raymond Chester.
Comes back over the middle. He's got Chester.
Todd Christensen.
Touchdown Raiders.
Ty Christensen and Raymond Chester each compiled over 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. But the only tight end in silver and black to crack our top 10 was an All-American tackle at Notre Dame.
The number 7 tight end of all time, the GOAT, Dave Casper.
I have no idea how Casper would get the nickname of Ghost.
A great effort by the Ghost, Dave Casper.
It's like a guy with big forearms getting the nickname of Popeye. I mean, who would think of that?
Into the end zone, Casper's there, touchdown Oakland.
A clutch tight end, and particularly a game against Baltimore.
Goes to the post.
The ghost to the post.
Deep to Casper. Casper makes an over-the-shoulder catch.
The guy was remarkable.
A very remarkable adjustment as Casper managed to run under that high lob.
It was always there when Ken Stabler needed him most.
Our number 7 tight end spent most of his 11 seasons with the Raiders and Oilers and racked up over 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns.
An Adonis who defines what tight end play is all about.
best tight end that ever played the game.
Throws to Casper, complete at the 40.
Think about it. You got a tight end, 250. His arms are like an extra foot long. His hands are huge. And his mother must have been a gorilla.
Brilliant work of art by the master of his position.
Look at our Super Bowl. He ran over Paul Krause like a pickup over a rooster.
Could catch anything and didn't care about getting hit.
Casper makes the catch. E.O. goes to the post.
David was a great blocker.
You know, he could block 2 or 3 guys at once.
I always got into the guy. I very seldom made a mistake. That's what I took most pride in. To me, if I had a great day receiving and a poor day blocking, it was bad.
Crazy ghost.
Dave was told, don't sit on your helmet in practice because you wouldn't eat with your helmet on at lunch or dinner. That evening, Dave came to dinner and proceeded to eat his dinner through his face mask with a helmet and spoon and fork.
If you're going to be a great football player, you're going to be a little weird.
Great and weird sum up Dave Casper and his most famous play.
The Holy Roller game against San Diego.
Action peaked with only 10 seconds to play. The ball got fumbled, it got bobbled, it got kicked. When play ended, Dave Casper had the winning touchdown.
You know, I was just there.
It is rolled a fumble. Casper has recovered in the end zone.
And if you look, it was just pure luck.
On the most zany, unbelievable, absolutely impossible dream of a play. Madden is on the field. They said, get your big butt out of here. He does.
And I played 11 years and I had some success. And what do I remember for? Being a fumbling fool at the end of a holy roll or whatever they want to call it.
This one will be relived forever.
The number 6 tight end of all time, Jackie Smith.
Jackie Smith. It's one of the famous lines of all Super Bowl lines.
Touchdown drop. Dropped in the end zone. Jackie Smith all by himself.
Bless his heart.
Bless his heart. He's got to be the sickest man in America.
He was hit square between the numbers in the end zone and the ball popped out.
Chuck Noll has won his 3rd Super Bowl title.
And it's sad that that's the way that he's best remembered.
You shouldn't forget about the hundreds of catches.
Jackie Smith has long been considered by many to be the finest tight end in football.
Jackie Smith was a statistical giant. He retired with 2,000 more yards than any other tight end.
One of the greatest tight ends that ever played the game.
A beast of a tight end.
Jackie Smith was one of the best.
Quarterback Buddy Humphrey appreciates that big, powerful target.
Could run like a deer. Like a Bambi. It didn't look like he was really running. He'd be behind you.
Scared every safety in the National Football League.
Smith is behind everybody and romps in for a 42-yard score.
Jackie Smith, they would think, well, okay, I'll wait till he gets even with me, then I'll jump on his back. Well, when he got even, he left you.
He had tremendous speed, but he also could break tackles.
Every time he faced a defender one-on-one, the outcome was decidedly in his favor.
The Whitten kid from Dallas had that play this past year where he lost his helmet.
Keeps running without a hat.
That's just the type of thing that Jackie would do.
He was as raw and as tough as an uncured char of tobacco.
His career average of 16.5 yards per catch is the best for a tight end in NFL history and is higher than wide receivers like Terrell Owens, Marvin Harrison, and Randy Moss.
He also ran very successful end-arounds.
That's a play you don't even see anymore in the NFL. And in 1968, Jackie Smith had 34 and 36-yard rushing touchdowns.
The milestone footage from NFL films, catching a short pass, breaking by my count 7 tackles. I lost track of how many tackles he broke. He ran over almost everyone in a Dallas uniform. That might have been one of the 2 or 3 best individual performances I ever saw.
This one memorable play on which he broke 5 tackles amply illustrates the superhuman effort Jackie Smith gives on every play.
This is a guy that everybody in St. Louis fell in love with. He had retired, and then the Cowboys brought him out of retirement.
At the request of the Dallas Cowboys, he returned for one more season.
When I went to Dallas, it was like some guy that was sitting in front of his TV set and said, boy, I'd like to play down there with them Dallas Cowboys. You know, I bet I can do good and I can do that, whatever. And all of a sudden, you're that guy. And I was just thrilled to death.
16 years, you're going to Super Bowl. You're going to Super Bowl. You're going to Super Bowl.
And finally, he gets his moment in the spotlight.
15 years with the Cardinals.
First time he ever got a chance to go to the Super Bowl.
With the greatest opportunity of his life.
And blows it. That's kind of tough.
And they're going to throw. He's got it wide open. Rough. Veteran Jackie Smith.
Just an amazing drop. Just an amazing drop.
Bless his heart, he's got to be the sickest man in America.
And he had to be sick to his stomach. He had to be.
Oh, heck, I was embarrassed. Humiliated to a great extent. You missed the pass. Yeah, it's a little upsetting.
And I think his reaction after he didn't catch it tells it all.
I think I could put some other guys up there in front of him. I mean, I put Mark Bavaro up there.
Oh, Jackie was so wide open in the end zone, it was incredible.
I'll tell you something. He deserves a lot of criticism for that. You can't overstate that. You got to catch that ball.
And he could not hang on to the ball.
And also, he played for all those losing teams in St. Louis. You can't separate those two things. He's way too high.
Well, if anybody thinks that Jackie Smith doesn't deserve to be on this list and doesn't deserve, in my mind, to be in the top 5, they're an idiot. They don't know anything about football. And if they try to judge it all on that one pass, they're just totally misinformed, and they can kiss my butt.
Coming up, an all-time great gets called out.
More of a receiving threat than he was a blocking threat.
He wasn't the greatest blocker.
Couldn't block a lick.
Before we continue our countdown of top 10 tight ends, here's the list so far.
Number 10, Antonio Gates is out of this world.
Is there anybody on this planet that can cover Antonio Gates?
Number 9,
That's a good catch, Mark.
Bavaro makes his mark in Tuna Town.
I'd hate to have to fight that son of a gun.
Number 8, Gonzalez is a fantasy football phenom.
Tony Gonzalez should be higher.
Number 7, the ghost haunts opposing defenses.
He ran over Paul Krause like a pickup over a rooster.
Number 6, Jackie Smith. Bless his heart.
He's way too high.
They can kiss my butt.
And now, the number 5 tight end of all time, the Wizard of Oz, Ozzie Newsome.
Who's ahead of him?
He was outstanding. I don't know if there was a better tight end.
Certainly a Hall of Famer and one of the great tight ends who ever played the game.
Ozzie Newsome with a touchdown grab.
Ever since number 82, Ozzie Newsome graduated from Alabama, he has made catches like this.
Remember calling Bear Bryant the day of the draft? He said, that's the greatest receiver I've ever seen, and that includes Don Hudson and many others that I played with and against.
The Alabama wideout played 13 seasons in Cleveland and retired as the NFL's all-time leader in receptions and yards by a tight end.
Ozzie Newsome with a marvelous catch.
Ozzie was as athletic a football player as I'd ever seen. Hands.
His trademark, the spectacular catch.
The way he ran, the way he got open. There really wasn't too much he couldn't do.
Newsome took it out of his arms. A spectacular touchdown.
That's why they call him the Wizard.
Ozzie Newsome, Oz, his remarkable catches. I think people just put that all together.
Newsome with a marvelous catch.
It was pretty magical being able to lock in on making a catch.
They all look the same. It's Ozzie Newsome stretched out like this.
Ozzie, touchdown Brown.
As a fan, you just stood there going, holy mackerel.
Tremendous hands. I think tremendous heart.
To 15, to 10, to 5, he's in for a touchdown. And this place is going nuts.
He's a beloved guy now, but I think he was a beloved guy his entire time.
Look at Ozzie Newsome, soaked in mud, but he was not going to be denied.
Here's what I want you to think of from a slot. Get the ball to Ozzie on the flag.
Touchdown Newsome.
Our number 5 tight end was not the Wizard of Blocking.
More of a receiving threat than he was a blocking threat.
He wasn't the greatest blocker.
Couldn't block a lick.
Come on, you stay after him, Oz. You're going to have to block him.
Didn't want to. Didn't try to. I'm a receiver. Give me the ball.
The Wizard's credo is, this ball is mine.
God bless him.
Didn't block, but you know what? Deion Sanders hadn't tackled anybody yet either.
Despite 662 catches in Cleveland, Newsome didn't win a Super Bowl until he was a general manager in Baltimore.
Back to throw, Trent Dilfer. Throwing deep down the middle for Stokely. He's got it. 10-5.
World
How about that? How you doing? Hey, that's all right.
I'm biased a little bit by my affection for Ozzie, but if you don't have Ozzie Newsome in your top 10 list, it's not a valid list.
The number 4 tight end of all time, Shannon Sharpe.
4. I've always admired Ozzie. I can't think of a better place to come because I can see the guy every single day, and he can see me every single day as I break his record.
Down the middle, there it is. Shannon Sharpe breaks the record. Ozzie Newsome gives him a big hug. The new NFL career record holder for receptions by tight end.
Shannon Sharpe definitely should be on the list.
Wide open, Shannon Sharpe.
A total package. Statistically,
Mercy, is anybody going to cover him?
emotionally,
Let him go, Friday, let him go.
a guy with, 3 Super Bowl rings?
Heavyweight champion of the world.
Every team he went to, they won.
When do y'all get a load of me?
Sharpe played 14 seasons with the Broncos and Ravens and broke Newsome's all-time tight end records for receptions and yards.
Sharpe, a 32-yard pickup.
While winning 3 Super Bowls.
You would say, okay, this flanker is a guy that we got to make sure we control, or he'll change the scoreboard.
Comes to Sharpe, touchdown.
Shannon Sharpe was that type of guy.
Takes the quick drop to Sharpe. He's got it, and he scores.
You play one-on-one with a linebacker or safety, Shannon was going to win.
Run zone defense, Shannon was so good at sitting it down.
For Shannon Sharpe, what a huge day.
Well, I don't think he was a great,
Just an amazing drop. Just an amazing drop.
Bless his heart, he's got to be the sickest man in America.
And he had to be sick to his stomach. He had to be.
Oh, heck, I was embarrassed, humiliated to a great extent. You missed the pass. Yeah, it's a little upsetting.
And I think his reaction after he didn't catch it tells it all.
I think I could put some other guys up there in front of him. I mean, I put Mark Bavaro up there.
Oh, Jackie was so wide open in the end zone, it was incredible.
I'll tell you something. He deserves a lot of criticism for that. You can't overstate that. You got to catch that ball.
And he could not hang on to the ball.
And also, he played for all those losing teams in St. Louis. You can't separate those two things. He's way too high.
Well, if anybody thinks that Jackie Smith doesn't deserve to be on this list and doesn't deserve, in my mind, to be in the top 5, they're an idiot. They don't know anything about football. And if they try to judge it all on that one pass, they're just totally misinformed, and they can kiss my butt.
Coming up, an all-time great gets called out.
More of a receiving threat than he was a blocking threat.
He wasn't the greatest blocker.
Couldn't block a lick.
Before we continue our countdown of top 10 tight ends, here's the list so far.
Number 10, Antonio Gates is out of this world.
Is there anybody on this planet that can cover Antonio Gates?
Number 9,
That's a good catch, Mark.
Bavaro makes his mark in Tuna Town.
I'd hate to have to fight that son of a gun.
Number 8, Gonzalez is a fantasy football phenom.
Tony Gonzalez should be higher.
Number 7, the ghost haunts opposing defenses.
He ran over Paul Krause like a pickup over a rooster.
Number 6, Jackie Smith. Bless his heart.
He's way too high.
They can kiss my butt.
And now, the number 5 tight end of all time, the Wizard of Oz, Ozzie Newsome.
Who's ahead of him? He was outstanding. I don't know if there was a better tight end.
Certainly a Hall of Famer and one of the great tight ends who ever played the game.
Ozzie Newsome with a touchdown grab.
Ever since number 82, Ozzie Newsome graduated from Alabama, he has made catches like this.
I remember calling Bear Bryant the day of the draft. He said, Art is the greatest receiver I've ever seen, and that includes Don Huston and many others that I played with and against.
The Alabama wideout played 13 seasons in Cleveland and retired as the NFL's all-time leader in receptions and yards by a tight end.
Ozzie Newsome with a marvelous catch.
Ozzie was as athletic a football player as I'd ever seen.
Hands. His trademark. The spectacular catch.
The way he ran, the way he got open. There really wasn't too much he couldn't do.
Newsome took it out of his arms. A spectacular touchdown.
That's why they call him the Wizard.
Ozzie Newsome, Oz, his remarkable catches. I think people just put that all together.
Newsome with a marvelous catch.
It was pretty magical being able to lock in on making a catch. They all look the same. It's Ozzie Newsome stretched out like this.
Ozzie, touchdown Browns!
As a fan, you just stood there going, holy mackerel.
Tremendous hands. I think tremendous heart.
To 15, to 10, to 5, he's in for a touchdown! And this place is going nuts.
He's a beloved guy now, but I mean, I think he was a beloved guy his entire time.
Look at Ozzie Newsome, soaked in mud, but he was not going to be denied.
Here's what I want you to think of from a slot. Get the ball to Ozzie on the flag.
Touchdown Newsome!
Our number 5 tight end was not the wizard of blocking.
More of a receiving threat than he was a blocking threat.
He wasn't the greatest blocker.
Couldn't block a lick.
Come on, you stay after him, Oz. You're going to have to block him.
Didn't want to. Didn't try to. I'm a receiver. Give me the ball.
The Wizards' credo is, this ball is mine.
God bless him.
Didn't block, but you know what? Deion Sanders hadn't tackled anybody yet either.
Despite 662 catches in Cleveland, Newsome didn't win a Super Bowl until he was a general manager in Baltimore.
Back to throw, Trent Dilfer. Throwing deep down the middle for Stokely. He's got it. 10-5.
World champ. How about that? How you doing, man? That's all right.
I'm biased a little bit by my affection for Ozzie, but if you don't have Ozzie Newsome in your top 10 list, it's not a valid list.
The number 4 tight end of all time, Shannon Sharpe.
4.
I've always admired Ozzie. I can't think of a better place to come because I can see the guy every single day, and he can see me every single day as I break his record.
Down the middle, there it is. Shannon Sharpe breaks the record. Ozzie Newsome gives him a big hug. The new NFL career record holder for receptions by tight end.
Shannon Sharpe definitely should be on the list.
Wide open, Shannon Sharpe.
A total package.
Big play, Sharpe, big play, baby.
Statistically,
Mercy, is anybody going to cover him?
emotionally,
Let him go, Friday, let him go.
a guy with, 3 Super Bowl rings?
Heavyweight champion of the world!
Every team he went to, they won.
When do y'all get a load of me?
Sharpe played 14 seasons with the Broncos and Ravens and broke Newsome's all-time tight end records for receptions and yards.
Sharpe, a 32-yard pickup.
While winning 3 Super Bowls.
You would say, okay, this flanker is a guy that we got to make sure we control, or he'll change the scoreboard.
Comes to Sharpe, touchdown.
Shannon Sharpe was that type of guy.
Takes the quick drop to Sharpe. He's got it, and he scores.
You play one-on-one with a linebacker or safety, Shannon was going to win.
Run zone defense, Shannon was so good at sitting it down.
For Shannon Sharpe, what a huge day.
Well, I don't think he was a great,
Get to work, put in 8 hours, come home. They stood for what this city stands for, a toughness. I played the game for a long time. When it came time to play, nobody played any harder than I did.
He hits Mike Ditka for 8 yards. Ditka puts Chicago in scoring position.
And he was disciplined, he was hard-nosed, and you had to watch him for 60 minutes because he'd take your head off.
Intimidating. They were terrified of him. I'm insane, they knew that.
And he was a phenomenal blocker.
With a guy like Sayers, who certainly is the finest football player I've ever seen, we depend a lot on everybody making a block.
Mike Ditka, if you watch film, when Gale Sayers is running with the ball, Ditka's still running downfield with him.
We enlist the aid of some movie magic to point out Mike Ditka's path-paving block. With the final obstacle obliterated, Sayers strides out to a touchdown.
He blocked like a madman. I like that in him because I knew that I can depend on Mike.
He put up some numbers that no tight end had even approached to that point. In his first season, he had over 1,000 yards receiving, which was unheard of for a tight end at that time.
Ditka is such a legend that he kind of draws a line in the sand. Who are you going to put above Mike Ditka? And when you see a player like Tony Gonzalez or a player like Shannon Sharpe, you say, would you put him past the Ditka line?
He was a great competitor, and you had to bring it every week to play against him.
He was born to be a bear. In fact, when you look at him real close, he looks like a bear. Look at the eyes. I don't think you'd want to look face to face with that guy out in the wilderness.
Those who watched him have a hard time believing we ranked him as only the 3rd best.
Do you agree with that? Absolutely not. Ditka invented the position. I'd have Ditka 1.
Frankly, we were too scared to ask Ditka what he thought of the ranking.
You didn't want to mess with Mike Ditka back in there, and you still don't.
Coming up, the man who fathered the next generation of tight ends.
He's definitely one of the best tight ends I've ever seen in my lifetime.
It was more than a car to him. It really...
Who gonna stop 85 today, baby? Who gonna stop 85? Who gonna stop 85?
The modern tight end has seen his role expand.
Great catch, Vernon breaks a tackle, and he's gone! Vernon Davis to the house! Jermichael Finley, touchdown!
On the list of 75 catch seasons by a tight end, more than half have happened since 2000.
Throws up, caught by Dallas Clark, touchdown! Dallas into the end zone the 42nd time. He and Peyton have hooked up.
Kellen Winslow Jr. has 3 75 catch seasons, as many as dear old Dad.
Touchdown Tampa Bay! What a great snag by Winslow!
But Jr. doesn't crack our list, while Pops checks in at number 2.
Kellen Winslow, see is in the house! We got an issue today!
The number 2 tight end of all time, Kellen Winslow.
Well, Kellen Winslow is the best tight end to ever play that position. Kellen Winslow is the best tight end ever.
The best ever? Not according to our list, but he's number 2 for redefining the position of tight end.
We had never seen anything like it. We had never seen a team where the tight end was getting 1,000 yards.
He was incredible. This guy was incredible. Could run like a wide receiver.
Could really consider him a wide receiver. Kellen Winslow could go 80 yards. He was much different.
He had the speed that most tight ends didn't.
He was the first real athlete.
At 6'5", he's an inviting and talented target.
Teams start looking at big, fast tight ends that could be the number 1 receiver.
He may have been the Chargers' number 1 receiver, but there's a reason he's number 2 on our countdown.
People will say that he wasn't a blocker.
However, Winslow found ways other than blocking to prove his toughness.
Never forget the Miami game.
Running to the right side, throws downfield, caught by Winslow.
Winslow was just unbelievable. We couldn't stop him.
Back to split bounce to Winslow. Winslow down to the 1-yard line.
Nobody called Kellen Winslow soft. At least they didn't call him soft twice.
In the epic in Miami, Winslow caught 13 passes for over 160 yards.
Protection in time over the middle. He's got his win man. Winslow touchdown.
The effort left him drained and dehydrated.
He was so tired that his teammates had to help him up.
But he still blocked a field goal to send the game into overtime.
A partial block on it.
He gave, everything that he had.
Melodramatic. Never once did anybody ever help me off the field. Never once did anybody call timeout so that I get off the field. I got my butt off the field in my own power with a broken back, broken ankles, you name it. I've had it all. But you get off the field. Be a man. He's definitely one of the best tight ends I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Yeah, I think you have to list him, in my opinion, at the very top.
Next up, we reveal our number 1 tight end.
The first great tight end, universal, that no one would dispute.
Before we reveal our number 1 tight end of all time, let's recap 10 through 2.
Number 10, nobody fences in Antonio Gates.
An amazing athlete.
Antonio Gates is money.
Number 9, you can't bring down Mark Bavaro.
This is absolutely incredible.
The tough, physical, beat you up. You tackle him, you're going to get hurt.
Number 8,
that's what I'm talking about.
The prolific pass catcher, Tony Gonzalez.
Nobody catches the ball better than him.
Number 7,
Wow! How about that?
Dave Casper, the ghost with gorilla arms.
His mother must have been a gorilla.
Number 6,
Can my guy beat your guy?
Way too easy.
Jackie Smith was one wild card.
Jackie Smith, a beast of a tight end.
Number 5,
I don't know what to say about that.
the wizard, Ozzie Newsome.
One of those guys that subtly changed the game.
Number 4, Shannon Sharp's got big numbers and a bigger mouth.
We are killing the Patriots.
If Shannon wasn't our teammate, I would hate him.
Number 3.
They'll want to get him cranked up.
There's nothing tougher than Iron Mike Ditka.
Ditka invented the position.
Number 2.
Unbelievable!
The papa of the position, Kellen Winslow.
I think you have to list him, in my opinion, at the very top.
And now, the number 1 tight end of all time,
John Mackey.
John Mackey.
I'd have to say John Mackey.
And in my opinion, John Mackey's the greatest that ever lived.
They all try to emulate him.
If you're unlucky enough not to live in Baltimore, then these spectacular films will introduce you to excitement unlimited.
That may sound like hyperbole, but people tend to get hyped talking about the number 1 tight end on our countdown.
It's amazing. He is unbelievable.
First effort, second effort, third effort. He's taken his team, put it right on his shoulders.
This Hall of Famer is perhaps the most punishing runner after the catch of all time and helped change his position forever.
I think that John Mackey, he defined it, actually. He could catch the pass and take it all the way. 80 yards, 90 yards. He could do that.
Pretty fast for a guy that weighed about 230 pounds. Mackey could run like 4.5.
Mackey was, to me, the first guy who became a seam ripper. Mackey was really the first tight end who could rip a defense in half. You could count on John Mackey giving you a really solid, if not excellent, block.
He caught the ball. He blocked. He did everything.
You're in this tight end stance, and they're just jamming you off the line. You can't get off the ball. And I was just wondering, do you have any techniques on trying to maybe slip or whatever, getting off the ball, trying to go down the field?
Well, the key to that is to get off on the count.
Few athletes have truly revolutionized their positions.
Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic tight end.
Mackey, after he got his hands on the football, he was tough to bring down.
His greatness was his ability to run after the catch.
He ran like a fullback.
He had the ability to make guys bounce off of him.
He's universally acknowledged as one of the toughest players to tackle.
John Mackey was a monster.
He was a very talented guy. We couldn't get him on the ground.
Mackey was one of those guys, as soon as the ball found its way into his hands, he became bigger, faster, stronger, and harder to bring down.
Just a horse out of control. Once he caught the ball, you couldn't tackle him.
I never thought I was like a Mack truck.
I had the opportunity to coach John Mackey, and this guy was a force.
We work on our 2-minute offense, and you can see here that it's paid off.
I think it was against the Lions where he caught a short pass and he ended up beating about 5 or 6 tacklers on his way into the end zone.
He's our number 1 tight end, and his effort against Detroit is considered by many to be the number 1 play in NFL history.
I really don't know why I broke those tackles other than when I saw those defenders coming, I made up in my mind that I was going to punish somebody.
That included his own teammates as well as Lions players.
Some of us missed him twice, yours truly. Finally, we've lived long enough that television doesn't feature it much anymore.
I could watch that over and over and over again.
The first great tight end, universal, that no one would dispute, is John Mackey.
I can't argue with Mackey as number 1.
I think he might have set the standard for tight ends.
You can't teach that. You can't coach that. God preordains that, and John Mackey ran with that.
So what have we learned?
I like tight ends that are complete.
If you want to make our list, you should be able to block.
He doesn't block. He doesn't want to block.
Couldn't block a lick. They can kiss my butt.
And you certainly need to be able to make big plays in the passing game.
Nobody catches the ball better than him.
And if you want to be number 1, you need to be able to do it all.
The first great tight end, universal, that no one would dispute, is John Mackey.
John goes back to throw again. Fires out left side. Incomplete. Taken by